Psycho-Pictography, The New Way to Use the Miracle Power of Your Mind by Vernon. How the dynamic science of psycho-pictography works for you. Psycho-pictography can change your life instantly, from the very moment you let it work for you. Regardless of your circumstances or age or personal problems, this tested science carries you to the refreshing atmosphere of a sky-high life, just as anyone can let an airplane carry him lightly aloft. So can you soar far above your burdens. Psycho-pictography lifts you to undreamed of heights where failure and misfortune are no longer in sight. You may inquire, exactly what is psycho-pictography and how does it carry me aloft? You will find complete details about this wonder science in Chapter 1. But let's now explore together a few helpful facts. Psycho indicates the mind, while pictography is the use of pictures to convey an idea. So psycho-pictography is the use of mental pictures to convey spiritual and psychological truths that set a man free. Psycho-pictography is the science of absorbing mental pictures which provide the mind with powerful and accurate guidance. Once received into your mind, they work effortlessly to uplift your entire life. You need not strain with them. They become your silently faithful servants who work for you day and night. The wonderful new life you will find in this book has already been discovered by thousands of men and women. They used the principles of psycho-pictography, though they may not have called it by that name. You have the advantage of using the first book to organise and present mental pictures as a practical science for self-enrichment. Psycho-pictography is both an ancient wisdom and an up-to-date technique. It combines the time-honoured universal truths with modern findings of psychology. The result is a thrilling system that really works. The science of psycho-pictography was developed by your author after many years of careful study and practice. Your enrichment begins the moment you absorb these mental pictures, but you must give them time to work for you. So stick with it, read and review. Make this book your close companion for at least 3 weeks. Do your part as a persistent student of psycho-pictography. Then you can be sure that a new stirring within that announces a transformed self. You will find it easy and interesting to absorb the mental pictures. So relax as you read. A major secret of this science is to release your own struggling efforts and let yourself be carried lightly aloft. Let's adventure forward together toward the wonderful new life. Your guide to mental pictures. Here is how to enrich yourself with the 94 mental pictures in this book. Turn to the page indicated where you will find a numbered mental picture. Start your reading a few paragraphs before the number and continue for a few paragraphs after it. This supplies an introduction and a conclusion to the mental picture, giving it full meaning. Here I'm going to jump straight to Chapter 1 and I will do a separate video with the guide to mental pictures and the 94 mental pictures in the book. Chapter 1. The Miracle Method of Psycho-Pictography. I rarely admit it, my caller said, but I'm in despair over finding the truth that might set me free. Does it really exist? Can I find it? How? The truth exists. It is a reality. It exists within you at this very moment. You may not be aware of it as yet, but still it is there. Your part is to listen when it speaks. An illustrative story helped to clear the idea in the caller's mind. A Swiss shepherd boy was kidnapped by passing gypsies. As he was hustled away inside the wagon, he heard the ringing of the village bell. The sound became fainter and fainter as the wagon carried him away. But the bell's special tone made a permanent impression upon his mind. Years later, as he grew up, the memory of that bell stirred a restless urge within. It made him weary of the gypsy life. He longed to return to his rightful home. So he broke away from the gypsy camp and began his search. He wandered from country to country, village to village, listening intensely for the special ring of that single bell. He heard many peals as he journeyed along, but he always detected a false ring, so he refused to be lured away. Finally, while pausing by the roadside to rest, he heard a faintly familiar peal. He turned in its direction. The further he walked, the more swiftly he stepped. Something within him knew that he was hearing his village bell at last, and he followed it all the way home. Likewise, the ring of truth is inside every man, and this is not something merely mystical or philosophical. It is a practical fact. If a man learns to listen, if he refuses to be lured away by false sounds, he will find his way home. The ring of truth will always be recognized by the man who listens, and every man has the capacity to listen and follow. You, the reader, have just received your first mental picture from this book. There will be many more, but first we want to discover what we mean by psycho-pictography, the dynamic science of mental pictures. The miracle method. Throughout the ages, a major challenge has confronted the great teachers of truth. It had to be met by philosophers, psychologists, scientists, and teachers of religion. The challenge is, by what method can the human mind be reached with the truth that sets it free? Offhand, this would seem to be no problem at all. We might answer, why, just tell people about the bright new life they can have. They will respond eagerly enough. Yet we know from tragic evidence that this is not so. Even a brief glance at the headlines reveals that men have lost the ability to respond to self-enrichment. The mind of man, far from welcoming advancement, resists it fiercely. The ego-centered self, fearing defeat at the hands of truth, fights back with every weapon it can frantically grasp. The human mind, when faced with the very power that gives light and liberty, has invented a multitude of evasions, resistances, rationalizations, and counterfeits. Faced with this challenge, the great teachers of history developed ways and means to carry the truth beyond these mental barriers. They have discovered methods for giving a man his first magnificent glimpse that leads to his true self. Of all these techniques, only one was widely used at all, and it was superbly successful. It worked. People took command of their own lives. Inner strength replaced weakness and fear. Problems unravelled. An entirely new self-identity appeared. Anger and anxiety turned to calm. Physical ailments vanished. Each new day, which formerly threatened another terror, now presented another conquest. Lives took on fresh meaning and permanent purpose. Regardless of the human problem, no matter how disastrous or how long it had lasted, a healing took place. The technique proved all-powerful. What was it? The mental picture. What is a mental picture? A mental picture is a scene played upon the screen of the mind. By means of a story or anecdote, the mind is helped to see a certain truth. For instance, we have just read The Adventure of the Swiss Shepherd. That story conveyed a picture to us. It impressed the intellect with a profound principle. The value of psycho-pictography, or mental pictures, is enormous. We shall see how and why as we go along. For one thing, the thinking process itself is largely a projection of mental scenes. That is why constructive visualizations are essential to our health and happiness. In this book, you will be presented with many stories and illustrations that create positive mental pictures. These illustrations are the means by which the truth reaches and enlightens the mind. We can call these illustrations by various names: stories, examples, case histories, analogies, anecdotes, even jokes. But the purpose is single: to give the mind a constructive course of action to follow. They guide the individual into doing what is necessary in order to emerge with a new life. Say, for instance, that you have a difficult decision to make. As hard as you try, you cannot make up your mind. Then you read an anecdote about someone in a similar situation. You discover how he handled it. Perhaps he gave up fighting his problem and simply relaxed from it. That action loosened his mental powers, enabling him to think in a new way, and the answer came to him. This man's success formed a mental picture in your mind, and now you have a clear and practical course to follow. We may not immediately understand a particular idea that can help us, but we can understand a mental picture that illustrates it. So the picture becomes a sturdy bridge. It helps us to cross over from the known to the unknown. It connects one level of understanding to a higher level. We ascend from a literal understanding to a psychological insight. The use of stories to convey a principle has another interesting advantage. Because they are pleasant to read, because we enjoy them, they permit passage of the truth with minimum of resistance. Stories are like friends who bring us unexpected gifts. How mental pictures work for you. An absorbed mental picture goes to work at once. It transforms our thinking. Like a powerful current beneath the surface of the sea, it supplies energy and wisdom, even when we are not consciously aware of it. Quietly it works, giving us whatever we need for a conquest. This enormous secret was known and used by all the great teachers of history. The New Testament presented mental pictures by means of parables. Zen Buddhism did likewise with its anecdotes and analogies. Ancient wise men like Socrates and Plato taught with stories and legends. Moderns like Emerson and Thoreau made full use of illustrations in their lectures and writings. Why? Because mental pictures speak a language that everyone understands. All of us are capable of forming mental pictures and of drawing meaning from them. Dr. Rainer C. Johnson explains, "The great teachers have therefore always entrusted truth with most confidence to parables, which, because of their simplicity, picturesqueness, and association with everyday life, they are a thought form most likely to be remembered and least likely to be corrupted. Each man then can perceive that depth of truth to which he has a capacity to respond." All this is of thrilling significance. It means that anyone can start exactly where he is, regardless of his present knowledge or understanding, and go on to higher levels of fortune. A mental picture, once implanted, works ceaselessly and effortlessly. You have heard the ancient saying that a picture is worth 1,000 words. We can modernize it by saying that a mental picture is worth 1,000 hours of effort. Let's review our discoveries about psycho-pictography. 1. We read a story or illustration or anecdote. 2. That story impresses a picture upon the mind about a successful course of action. 3. The mental picture becomes a permanent power that channels all our natural energies, emotions, desires, physical forces, and so on, into a similarly successful action. 4. We more and more develop the casual abilities to succeed in our chosen areas. How soon will results appear? You may ask, how soon can I expect practical results from using mental pictures? Results arrive at once. The very moment a person reads a basic principle for loftier living, he experiences some kind of reaction to it. This reaction may be somewhat vague at first, but by sticking with it, a clearer recognition grows. Like looking into a mirror, you see who you are and what you can do with yourself. A typical remark of a person who is gaining more self-understanding is, "I'm not sure what is happening as yet, but it's definite and interesting." Change is certain. At first, it may be in small ways. For instance, you are less upset by an unkind remark from someone. Or maybe you see that it is not selfish to live your life as you see fit. It is selfish only to insist that others live as you see fit. Life flows from the inner to the outer. Good changes you make in the inner self will reflect favourably in your outer activities. You can actually observe these exterior improvements as they take place. Your business activities take on a fresh look. Your relations with other people become smoother, as we shall see in later chapters. All this happens because your inner unity creates total power. A man with self-unity is like a river which was once divided by several islands, but which finally flows together again beyond them. Suppose it is 7 o'clock. And you want to catch a certain television program coming on at 8, you can tune your set to the correct channel now. Then, all you need to do is wait for it to come to you. You can relax in the knowledge that you are correctly tuned in, that the program must eventually be yours to experience. You need have no care nor responsibility for its arrival. Finally, of its own accord, and at the right time, your desire appears. Likewise, with rich results, as long as we are correctly tuned in, by using mental pictures, we need not concern ourselves at all with results. They arrive all by themselves, easily and naturally. How confusion helps. At this point, I want to discuss with you the problem of confusion. As you go through these pages, do not be afraid to be confused. Confusion is an honest emotion. A man has broken well into the open when he can say, "I don't know," without being afraid of what he has just said. To realise that you don't know this or that is the beginning of new wisdom. For instance, it is not wrong to be puzzled about what you want from life, any more than it is wrong not to know what kind of food you want for dinner. It is never wrong to be either physically or psychologically hungry. What is wrong is to accept a piece of fruit without determining whether it is real or artificial. Do not shy away from a new idea that appears beyond your understanding. No principle is beyond human understanding. It cannot be. The truth, however veiled it may be at the present, already dwells within every man and woman. You need not understand the mechanical workings of an airplane in order to be carried aloft. Neither need you wholly grasp the pleasant changes that will take place within you. Let them happen. Relax with your study of Psycho-Pictography. Do not strain at understanding anything. Read with a sense of curiosity and exploration. See everything as good news. Enjoy the adventure. A story was written about a coastal village that was attacked time and time again by great sea monsters. The villagers heard of a magician who could dissolve all kinds of evil simply by looking at it with his all-powerful gaze. Called to the village, he took a stand on a high cliff overlooking the sea. The next time the monsters appeared, he looked steadfastly at them, and they vanished forever. Any man can become such a magician, if he will not be afraid of his own confusion, if he will continue to look until he sees, all his negativities will vanish forever. Asked Martha B., a curious thing happens as I make progress. I always get more confused just before I actually see a truth for the first time. Why is this? You were really as confused as before, only it was subconscious. You merely became more aware of your confusion. You brought it to the surface. You realized for the first time that you really didn't understand as much as you thought. This self-honesty led to genuine understanding and relief. Martha laughed. Yes, I've noticed what a relief it is to stop pretending. The reason why you can be happier. The reason a man does not live happily is not because that state is non-existent. Also, it is not because happiness is unattainable. Furthermore, it is not because someone or something stands in his way. The reason why a man fails to attain his rightful contentment is for a reason he rarely suspects. I would like you to read the next few paragraphs with special care. If you will grasp them, even just a bit, you will make more progress in seconds than perhaps you have made in years. A man fails to attain personal liberation because he is unaware that such a state actually exists. A man never goes after something unless he at least suspects that it is real, that it is there. He must therefore become consciously aware, even if dimly at first, that an entirely new world exists for him. This new world has been proclaimed throughout the ages to unthinking mankind. It appears when a man or woman becomes receptive to esoteric knowledge, secret knowledge. It is secret only because millions of unhappy people will not receive and do not understand it. But you, the reader, can dare to be different. Then you will be different from the millions of unhappy people. You will know the truth that sets you free. You may be sure that we are not talking about anything remote or impractical. We are looking into a far superior way of life that you can find and enjoy today. Man's most tormenting and most carefully concealed fear is that there is no alternative road to the one which he now painfully endures. There is an alternative, and an utterly peaceful one, but he must express a rebellious sort of courage in order to find it. He must deliberately abandon his so-called securities and start down a new road, as unfamiliar as it may be. By using the 4 golden keys provided later, he finally finds what he seeks. A new life of abundant cheer is found in one way and one way only. All others lead to endless anxiety. It is found through an awareness of its existence. This is the entire secret. We must catch a glimpse of this fresh life for ourselves. We can start by remembering that it exists within, not without. We already possess this higher state, but we must become aware of our rich possession. This awareness will break through with increasing force as we dare to seek it beyond our present mental attitudes. What prevents us from being aware? Our own resistances. We are afraid that if we let go of our present beliefs, as useless as they are, that the unknown might be even worse. But we must dare. And then we find that the very thing we feared was our very liberty. Suppose you tell a man that just over the hill there is a grand castle ready for his occupancy. He will want to believe you, but will be unable to do so. He has been fooled too many times by too many people. All his previous journeys have led to disappointment. He is not going to risk getting hurt again, so you really can't blame him for balking. Nevertheless, the castle actually exists, whether he ventures toward it or not, claimed or not. It is always there, ready for him. Here we seem to have a major problem. The man will not walk toward the castle until he sees it, yet he cannot see it until he walks toward it. No problem. There is a way out, and any man can take it. You must take the first step. Let's suppose that our man is willing to take the first hesitant step away from familiar ground, toward the castle he cannot see as yet. Suppose he willingly walks just far enough to catch his first glimpse of the castle. Maybe he sees only a tiny top corner. That is enough. He has seen something that makes him excited, curious, eager. Everything within him responds to that first grand glimpse with new vitality. So now he takes a few more forward steps, then some more, until he finally possesses the castle. It is his to occupy and enjoy. Sometimes, during the course of an ordinary day, we catch brief glimpses of this new life. It usually comes with sudden delight. One instance was related by a class member. I was driving down the street feeling angrily aggressive. The morning had gone all wrong. My anger transferred itself to my driving. I felt like ploughing through traffic without regard for anyone. I came to an intersection at the same time as another driver. I was about to plunge ahead, my turn or not, when an amazing thing happened. The other driver smiled pleasantly and waved me on. 3 blocks later, it struck me like lightning. That man was living in an entirely different world than I. I was overwhelmed with the fantastic truth that there is another way to live. You will find as you go along that mental pictures help you catch your first glimpse of your own grand castle. How to use Operation Tossaway. How does an alert awareness solve daily difficulties? Let's take a familiar problem that was expressed by one man. Doctors and psychologists declare that a man has all the natural energies he needs. If this is so, why are there so many tired people, including myself? The fable is told of the traveller staggering down the road with a rock in one hand and a brick in the other. On his back was a sack of earth, and around his waist was wound a long coil of vines. On his head was balanced a heavy pumpkin. Along the way he met a villager who asked, "Weary traveller, why burden yourself with that big rock?" "That's odd," replied the traveller, "but I never really noticed it before." So he tossed the rock aside and felt much better. Along came another villager who inquired, "Tell me, weary traveller, Why wear yourself out with that heavy pumpkin?" "I'm glad you pointed it out," said the traveller, "because I didn't realise what I was doing to myself." So he knocked the pumpkin off his head and went on his way with a much lighter step. One by one, the villagers made him aware of his needless burdens. So one by one, he abandoned them. Finally, he was a free man and walked like one. What really was his problem? The rock and the pumpkin? Not really. It was his unawareness of them. Once he saw them as pointless burdens, he dropped them soon enough and was no longer tired. That is the daily problem of many people. They are carrying unnoticed loads. No wonder they're tired. What are some of these loads that burden a person's mind and steal his or her energy? Negative thoughts, blaming and accusing others, permitting gloomy impressions to nap in our minds, carrying a load of false guilt for things we couldn't help, self-pity, believing that there is no way out. Everyone has his special brand of energy-robbing burdens. The sooner we start Operation Toss Away, the sooner we will feel better and walk lighter. This is your secret for achieving happiness. This brings us to a vital truth that you will meet many times in this book. Inner freedom is not a matter of adding anything. It is purely a ridding process. Here is one of the most startling and rewarding ideas you could ever grasp. Suppose you once had a path across a meadow, but one day found it overgrown with weeds. To restore it, you would not create anything, rather you would remove something. As the shrubs and weeds are cleared away, the path appears. So it is with the mind. We need not try to create anything, for there is nothing that needs to be created. Freedom is already present, though perhaps as yet unseen. Our mental weeds are made up of negative imaginations, fearful attitudes, unrealistic ideas, an insistence that we already know the answers, and so on. As self-understanding removes them, as it always does, we see the path for the first time. That puts us on the forward march. As simple as this idea is, it eludes us. Therefore, we must think about it, review it. We are in the habit of thinking in terms of building, adding, constructing, while all the time our freedom lies in the opposite direction. Happiness is a ridding process. In discussing various steps to freedom, Professor Edwin A. Burt writes, "Next, we must clearly recognize that the way to truth and blessedness does not lie in creating anything that does not now exist, nor in acquiring anything that is not now at hand. We need only remove ignorance. Insight into the truth then dawns." Your 4 golden keys to new freedom and happiness. There are 4 golden keys for discovering the true self, the self that is free and happy. They are 1. A sincere desire for inner change. 2. Contact with workable principles. 3. Self-honesty. 4. Persistence. 1. A sincere desire for inner change. A man must really want to be different. His first desire should be for the truth itself, not for ideas that please him by backing up what he already believes. The earnest man dares to sail uncharted seas. When he finally reaches port, he finds that this new world, though strange at first, is what he really sought all along. I should say sincerity, a deep, great, genuine sincerity, is the first characteristic of all men in any way heroic. Thomas Carlyle. 2. Contact with workable principles. This means we must be in contact with some source of genuine help. It can be a person who has already set himself at liberty. It can be a book, or it can be our own matured way of thinking. We must beware of counterfeits. We must not accept something as true merely because it appeals to us. We must make every offered idea prove itself to be a workable principle. We must personally verify everything. 3. Self-honesty. Genuine courage consists in being honest with oneself. The really heroic person is willing to be wrong for the present in order to be right later on. But honesty does not mean that you change your viewpoints merely for the sake of change. It means you explore your viewpoints in order to separate truth from falsity. Then, truth dissolves falsity. There is nothing of more practical use than self-honesty. 4. Persistence. A person may be sincere, and he may have found a source of genuine help, and he may also have a full supply of self-honesty. By adding one more thing, he has all he needs for swift strides forward. It is that old-fashioned and admirable quality we call persistence. A man must keep going. As the New Testament phrases it, he must not fall by the wayside. Persistence pays. Whenever someone tells me that his way is blocked by discouragement or confusion, I ask him to check over the 4 golden keys. It's not long before he finds the barrier at his back and himself on the open highway once more. You can do the same. How to use the transfer technique. In the business world, Leonard E. had achieved money and prestige that was not matched by inner wealth. He had, however, arrived at that stage of honest inquiry where he asked, "What's wrong? I feel that the answer is nearby, but I just can't grasp it. How do I find this inner richness you speak about? If I could just catch a clue or two, I believe I could go on from there. What's the missing link?" Imagine yourself at your office desk. Suppose you become aware of something wrong in your business operations. For instance, let's say that your methods for attracting new customers are not working out. What would you do? Would you try to deceive yourself that all is well? Not at all. It would be too costly. Then you'd face the realities of the situation, even if it means changing your viewpoints. Of course, you can't make money by avoiding economic realities. You wouldn't resist a new program that looked good. I'd investigate it with enthusiasm. How would you know that you were on the right track at last? There's only one way, by actual results, when sales really increase, when the situation definitely changes from bad to good. How about persistence? How long would you continue to work with this new program? All the time, all the way, I'd stick with a winner. All right, why not apply the same realistic principles to your inner life? Sounds like a good idea. Learn to see the parallel between business success and personal happiness. It might sound strange at first, but both are based on the very same fundamentals: realism and honesty and persistence. And I'm not using those in my personal life? No, I guess not. Otherwise I'd have the results I want. Be utterly practical. Transfer these business principles to your inner life. Call it the transfer technique. You'll get results. Leonard succeeded. He couldn't fail, and neither can anyone else who uses the transfer technique. Just find some area of everyday life where you have already succeeded, such as a talent for music. A close look will show that the 4 golden keys made it possible. Now transfer them to an inner area where you want a new success, such as trying to understand yourself better. You will transfer your success also. Valuable review of Chapter 1. Number 1. Remember the story of the Swiss shepherd. 2. Psycho-Pictography is a tested technique for giving fresh meaning and permanent purpose to your life. 3. A mental picture is created in your mind by reading a story, illustration, or case history. 4. You can start exactly where you are to benefit from the dynamic method of psycho-pictography. 5. Let results come naturally and effortlessly. 6. Study psycho-pictography with a relaxed mind. 7. Dare to take the first step towards your rightful castle. 8. Happiness comes as we toss away needless negatives. 9. Let the 4 golden keys supply you with accurate guidance. 10. The transfer technique works wonders.